right, so we're live in the Fox Sports The Gambler studio. I have a couple of people here with me today. First, Chaz Franklin, Coach Chaz Franklin, I should say, right?
I'm here.
The proper. And Mikey Hughes, who's been on our show a bunch of times from Chicago, holds it down, all things Chicago, but also more importantly, the WNBA. So I'm going to get out of the way because I just know you guys have been talking behind the scenes for the last like 5-10 minutes. So I feel like the audience needs to hear this. And I'll chime in whenever I feel I could add my own take and flavor. So honored to have you both here. Excited to do this.
Thanks, Mike.
Most definitely, Chaz, bro. I haven't seen you. The last time I seen you was the teaspoon inauguration. I mean, that was, bro. It's crazy in Chi-Town right now. We got a lot of stuff going on. But we were just talking about WNBA free agency kicked off just a few days ago. The first few days, it's always real quiet. I know Chaz goes through it all the time with the people he mentors, people he coaches. Now things are finally starting to go crazy. I mean, it's crazy. So, Chaz, where you at right now as it pertains to free agency?
You know what? Free agency right now is going nuclear. I mean, my phone is buzzing off the hook with Twitter feeds and alerts and this and that. And, I'm talking to players. I'm talking to agents, just friends I have, I guess, in the business, in the industry. So, I mean, free agency has been on fire. And I think that WNBA fans should expect more in these next, 48 hours? Because, I mean, it's going absolutely crazy right now. A lot of heartbreak for me on some ends, and some joy on the other ends to see some people moving to better situations and losing some friends here and there. But I guess that's the world we live in, right?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, we talked about it, off stage, behind closed doors about Courtney Williams and Alana Smith and what they were for you and I both in 2023 in the summer. It was absolutely phenomenal. Class acts, especially Court. We're not going to get too deep into it, but Court stood on business. Court was about her P's and Q's all year long. She was riding for Kyle. She was riding for everybody from 1 to 10 on that roster. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. So what they're going to be able to do for a very young organization, I think is going to be a lot of fun. But the big one, man, was Skylar Diggins-Smith. That's the one for me that, like, going to Seattle, I think is going to be huge. I mean, you got the 1-2 punch, Chicago native, Jewel Lloyd in the cut as well. She's already a champion. She understands what it takes. Skylar understands that atmosphere. She's been there before. What do you think that means for the organization? Because I know we didn't get a chance to talk about that yet, but obviously the consensus and in a lot of people who are going to come talk about, it's going to be Vegas. It's going to be the Liberty again. There's no one else that can get in their ways. Do you see them being a hard out, especially when you look at the 1-2 punch in Seattle?
Well, I mean, anytime you add a Skylar Diggins Smith, she was what, two years in a row, first team all WNBA.
Yep,
Uh,
6-time All-Star.
right, 6-time All-Star, the pride of Notre Dame. I mean, they got a lot of them over there, right? Coming out of South Bend, but I mean, Skylar Diggins is the top tier, right? Gold standard for the Fighting Irish. So whenever you add a player of her magnitude and her caliber, I mean, it automatically gives a little level of credibility to your organization. They're going to be a problem in the West, we be
Yeah,
honest, especially with Jewel Lloyd.
most
Hey,
definitely.
so I'm gonna chime in right
Mhm.
now. I wanna like we talked about this in the hallway because we were reminiscing throughout
Hmm.
all of music, right? Because this
Hmm.
hallway is just it's like walking through a history of music, whether it be hip hop, rock, R&B, rumba, and I kind of related it to your experience, right? So 15 years as a a pro basketball player overseas, and now you're helping the youth, but more importantly, women athletes. Like, how does that feel? And also, where did that come from? Like, where was that? What led you from that 15-year career to now?
Well, I guess the first thing is that, I mean, I played till I was 40 years old, right?
It's awesome.
So from like 25 to 40, I had this crazy backstory. I didn't turn pro till I was 25, right? And I played 15 years in so many nondescript countries that I can't even list them. I was like the goat of mid-level, low-level international basketball, right? So I said, okay, I got to start to figure something out because this ball ain't gonna bounce forever. So maybe during the last third of my career, I started connecting with other younger players, right, from the greater Philadelphia area. They joined me for workouts. That's how it started. Hey, it was always, oh, hey, that's when I knew it was time to retire. Instead of Chaz, it started being old head, OG. I'm like, who are they talking? They're talking to me, right?
Talking to Unc, man.
They were talking to me. So, I kind of transferred or kind of just slid into a bit of a mentorship role. I could still play a little bit and I was in great shape, but what I really tried to impart to them was what I learned over the years. So, my concept was just to put all that I learned over these 15 years and that I have in this beautiful ball head and put into a younger, more athletic, more talented body. And so that's how it started for me. Yeah.
Love it, love it. And then what made you decide like you wanted to give back to this game that you love so much?
Well, I think the first thing is that I've been so blessed and fortunate that so many people have mentored me and given back to me, right? So you're supposed to be paying this thing forward first and foremost. And the other thing that I realized too is that so many former pro athletes, they don't age gracefully, right? And I think the reason why is because they haven't found a purpose, right? They lack purpose. So I'm like, man, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, wow, dang, my days of hooping are over. Wow, so now your relevance goes down, right? You don't know what you do in the morning. You don't know what you're supposed to do. Your whole life has been structured from 7 years old until 40, right? I said, wow, how do I live forever? How do I stay relevant? How do I be a blessing to others? Then I thought about it. You know what? Mentor them, give back, keep it going. You don't need to be a rapper. You need to try to work with the label, maybe try to own your own label. That's how you do it. This is a young man's game and a young woman's game. So I said, let me get yourself out the way. Get out the way, right? It's these young people's time. Nobody likes a grumpy old guy anyway. So I said, yeah, it's time for the next generation. And I just want to help lead them.
I love it. I love it. I think you are in the way. You're in a great way, right? You're leading. I saw a post of yours where you have two young athletes around your arm, and you're like, player development starts with love first, and I think that's really cool and unique. How did that help your career mentally and more importantly, like, did you have any mentors that were doing that for you? And what about mental health in the game? Like, do you think that that's obviously something that's changed and is obviously it's changing for the better, right?
Absolutely. Um, well, a couple of things, man. Growing up where I grew up, which is South Philadelphia. I played on the Point Breeze Youth Athletic Association. I mean, that was like the who's who of South Philadelphia. When I grew up, that meant everything. I was mentored by two gentlemen. One is which is Larry Waiters, who helped him run the Total Response League, and the other is Mr. Bill Williams. He lived a half a block down the street from me. He taught me the culture. He taught me the pride. He taught me to be tough. He taught me to work hard. But also he taught me, to just carry this basketball, not just this basketball, this South Philadelphia basketball banner, carry that with some pride, right? Um, so once again, Mike, you can understand this. South
Yeah.
Philadelphia, south side of Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Mirror images, right?
Mhm.
So that's where I grew up, right? Mike Powers, hey, this is Brooklyn all the way. That's what
Yeah.
South Philly, right? I'm from the culture, so you guys understand what I'm talking
I
about,
love it. I love it.
right? In terms of mental health, I was a coach a little different. It was a different time, right? I'm growing up in the 80s and 90s. So in my environment, man, I guess like on a basketball court, if you make a mistake on the basketball court or you turn the ball over, right? You
Mm.
make you make the wrong decision in South Philadelphia or any of these neighborhoods when you're growing up. I mean, you don't lose the ball, you may lose your freedom,
Right.
right? You may lose your life, right? So guys like Mr. Bill Williams, man, they coached us hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I just mentioned this story recently where I had holes in my shoes, right? Mr. Bill could coach me hard because he picked me up for practice, games, and it was all for free. He put clothes on my back and shoes on my feet, right? So these guys coached you hard. I mean, Mr. Bill didn't personally like grab you or he wasn't physical, but that was the era I was from, right?
Right.
I mean, mental health wasn't a big concern when I was coming up. Let's just say that,
Right.
right?
Figured
No,
Right.
figured as much for sure.
Right. But but we're moving forward.
Yeah.
We're moving forward. So as it pertains to me in 2024, um, I never wanted to be the type of coach that looked at these players as X's and O's, right? This is someone's son. This is someone's daughter. This is someone, right, who had a dream since they were a child, right, that they're helping to materialize and manifest at this very moment. So I said, you know what? Let me try to love them, for the person that they are, right? And if you love the person that they are, pulling that good player out of them, well, that's easy, right? Because by the time they get to me, I mean, they're a heck of a player already, right? You're in the WNBA, right? This is, I mean, you already at, the top 1% of players in the world anyway.
Right.
So, I try to use that holistic approach, interpersonal relationships, big to me, and it's been working.
Right. And, you and I talk about it a lot. And, I've talked to Mike about it and explaining to him like what it was like growing up in Chicago. And I think that's where my relationship with you from day one, man. I mean, it was just like I've known you my whole life because you remind me of so many people in this city who have all the potential in the world and actually utilize it to the best of their ability. You mentioned not looking at them as X's and O's. In another way, a lot of people, especially not getting political, but with politics and everything, they're all statistics. We're all a statistic. We're all a number in this big rat race. And I feel like so many kids get caught up in that. They're trying to be a rapper. They're trying to be in the NBA. They're trying to be something else. So for you, growing up in South Philly, who was it in your family that really kept you on your P's and Q's and really made sure that you were going to become Chaz Franklin and not just a statistic or just somebody else from Philly?
Oh, well, as far as my family, my upbringing, anybody that knows me, man, they know it's my late grandmother, Elaine Jean Franklin. And I say that with the most, I guess, passionate, endearing heart that I could. I mean, she's my motivation even to this day. During my playing days, whenever I ran out on the court right before the game, I touched my heart twice, right? And blew a kiss up, right? That was from my grandmother. I told her, man, I made a lot of promises to my grandmother. And boy, she was loving, but she was tough. She was loving, but she was tough, right? She was the kind of grandmother that would slip you candy in church, even though she wasn't supposed to, right?
Love it.
And she was also the kind of grandmother that when the neighborhood bullies chased you to your doorsteps to jump you and beat you up, she said, "Oh, you can't come in this house. You better get out there and fight every last one of them." Right, you're a Tillerson boy. You better act like you know. Right, so she was like fire and ice all at the same time. So, um, I mean, that was like my biggest motivation. I mean, obviously, my mother, she held me to a high standard. She would always say, "Oh, I just want you to do your best, but I know that your best is straight A's, so that's what I'm expecting." Right, and I'm like, "Well, gee, thanks. That's a lot of pressure."
Yeah, no
Right,
pressure. Be a professional athlete.
right, yeah, gee, thanks, appreciate it. Right. So, those two were the most pivotal, but I've been blessed to have a lot of different people,
Mhm.
right, over the course of the years that help mentor me and show me the path. You don't get here on your own.
Yeah, without a doubt. I always say it takes a village, and I didn't fully understand that until I became an uncle just a few years ago. I'm like, damn, like even though my sister's the one putting in all the work, I'll never say she's not. She's an amazing mother. But I'm like, even on my own, hey Mike, can you watch your nephew? Can you watch your niece for a little while? I'm in charge of this life for the next 3 hours. What I do is key and pivotal to the next 20 plus years of this person's life. Someone falls off a table, it's wraps. Like it's important. And I think being in people's lives is very key. And I've spoke so much with Mike about that.
Mhm.
But I'd love your perspective on the city of brotherly love. I mean, I gotta get more than just a jersey that the 76ers play every now and again. What is the atmosphere in Philly and how has it compared to other cities you've been in, other countries you've been in?
Well, the first thing that I would say is when you grow up in a city like Philadelphia, right? I truly and honestly feel that you are prepared to go anywhere in the world.
I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you grow up. If you make it out of Philadelphia, right? Like a Kalia Copper, right? Like
Yeah.
like a Will Smith, a Kevin Hart, a Meek Mills. This is Philadelphia. You ready? This is Philadelphia. I was a 5 foot what 7 ninth grader, right? Sometime in the 90s. We're playing a recreational summer league basketball game across from Wilson Park Projects in South Philadelphia, right? This is the environment, right? You got to go with me. We're going to story time, right? Here's the deal.
I'm with you. That's right.
Sunny, it's 95 degrees. If you win the game, the boys from the projects are going to beat the crap out of you and chase you home. If you lose the game, you feel like a chump. You lost the game, right? So that's the environment. I kind of want to win, so I'm going to try to win. I attempted two-handed dunk, ninth grade, 14 years old, 5'6", 5'7", missed the dunk. I'm happy. I'm ninth grader. I tried to dunk. Right? That's impressive.
Right.
They booed me. They booed me the whole schoolyard. They booed me. You know what the guy tells me? He says, "This is Philly," and he cursed at me. "This is Philly, MFer. You don't get any props for trying to dunk. You gotta make the dunk."
Yo.
I said, "Oh, okay." It was my cousin. He was the guy booing me, right? So that's Philadelphia, right? We are hard on our athletes, we are hard on our people, but we are loyal to a fault. We're a bit crazy, but if you get one of those dogs like a Kalia Copper, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they'll take you all the way to the doggone championship if you let them.
Yep. No, it's really as simple as that. I know Mike has his own. Mike is a diehard Mets fan,
Okay.
and he understands what it's like. You know, being in the city, being in that atmosphere, rooting for a team. We talked about it over the summer, Chaz. Every time I talk to Mike, I feel like I randomly, whether it's relevant or not, I bring up Derrick Rose. This is a kid from Inglewood. This is a kid from the southwest side of Chicago, and he becomes the youngest MVP in NBA history. And after just a couple of injuries, watch how the media turns on you. Watch how things start to change. You go from the next Michael Jordan, you go from the savior of the Chicago Bulls to a pariah, to, hey, we're forcing you out of town. We're sending you to the New York Knicks where they're going to run a triangle offense with Carmelo Anthony and the unicorn. I mean, it was horrible, but that's a whole different conversation. Shout out Phil Jackson, though. But I definitely get that. And for you, though, what keeps you on the right road? What keeps you on, okay, well, maybe people don't believe in what I'm trying to do. Maybe people in the city growing up, maybe you yourself didn't understand player development and what roads and what barriers you could potentially knock down. But how did you continue to say, this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it, whether or not people agreed with it? 25 years old, you make your final, your first appearance being an actual pro. I mean, me at 23, damn, bro, it's raps. I'm just gonna play beer league softball the rest of my life. There's a mentality that comes with this. So where does that mentality come from for you?
Well, I think the first thing, I am a man of faith. You know, I don't, I don't like beat people over the head with a Bible or anything like that, right? But
Right.
that is something, that I hold near and dear to my heart. That's for one. For two, I think that, coming from certain environments, a Brooklyn, a Chicago, a Philadelphia, man, you better be delusional,
Yeah.
right? You
Yep.
better be delusional, right? I walk out my house, right? 1720 Siegel Street, 19145. Right? Right? That was the zip code. A rapper, Beanie Siegel, put that in a rap one time in the 90s. He said, I pack guns like the zip code 19145. So this is my environment. This is what I
Mhm.
have to look to, right?
Right.
Every time I step out the house. So if I believe what I saw on my block, if I believe that that was my future or my destiny, right? I mean, I should have just gave up at 13, 14. It was over for me then,
Right.
right? There was always something inside of me. I think my grandmother put it inside of me. Uh, my mother as well, just to be able to aspire uh to be greater than what your eyes can see because we didn't see much, right?
And I think that's what is allowing you, in my humble opinion, to develop young women athletes, right? Because it's a similar struggle to growing up in a city like this. I think about Urban Youth Racing. It's a school in Philadelphia, and they're trying to teach NASCAR to kids that are less fortunate because obviously, like, you can only join NASCAR if your dad's a millionaire or something, can
Mhm.
afford to let you go wreck, amazing vehicles and learn the sport. So they've cut it down into a science where they use simulators and money from NASCAR to get the youth that loves motorsports and maybe it's a kid who stole a car. Let's find out why he stole the car. So same thing with women athletes. Like it's just like it's been so terrible to see our society kind of just put it on the back burner. Like if you get outside of what is it? Like UFC, all the combat sports,
Mhm.
WWE, uh, you know, tennis, thank you to the Serena sisters, right? Honestly. And then soccer, maybe, and then WNBA, like that's your five pillars. And there's so many other sports. Like, what have you seen since you've joined the WNBA, like growth wise? And does it excite you?
Oh man, well, first of all, yes, it excites me for sure.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I've been around women's basketball for some time. The quote unquote first player that I ever developed was a girl by the name of Andrea Hines in Delaware, like 2008 or something like that. So it's a
That's awesome.
long time, right? Didn't know I was being set up for destiny, right? Didn't know that, right? I'm like, oh, kid, get out the way. I'm trying to do my stuff. It's this little girl. Oh no, no, I wanna, show me. I'm like, get out of beat it, kid, right? And she stays. So and here we are from seventh grade till what 12th grade, and I used to always bother her. And this is a tie it in, right? This is a good one. I used to always say, "Oh, you're good, but I mean, you're no Skylar Diggins." Right? Oh, and that would piss her off, right? That would piss her off. So then she graduates, she goes to the University of Central Florida, right? She has a great career. She graduates, right? She's a nurse now. And on her graduation day, she sends me a picture, right? Off of Google. It's like Getty Images, whatever it is, right? And it's her guarding Skylar Diggins, Central Florida versus Notre Dame. And she
That's
said,
great.
"Hmm." And I said, "See,
Yeah.
right? Now I didn't know I was on to something, right? I
Yeah.
didn't know I was being led into destiny. But that's where my passion started, to see these young people go from nothing to something. Obviously, I'm not a woman, but I am an underdog, right, through and through. And the level of disrespect that women's sports receive, is just, I mean, it's preposterous to me at this
Right.
point. I'm out there on the floor with them, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wasn't an NBA basketball player, but I like to consider myself to be a pretty good basketball player, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, you guys are talking about you're better than women in the NBA, in the WNBA.
Right.
I'm like, bro, I'm not even better than some of the women in the
Right.
WNBA.
I was gonna say I'm rooting for Sabrina to beat Steph
That's
because, like, you know what I mean? Like that would be huge. Like, so it's just it's crazy. We have another show on our network. It's called Protect Our Queens,
Mhm.
and it's two passionate guys just like Mike, and they are trying to raise awareness on the sport, and they are so passionate about it and they report on it. And I'm just hoping because I look at sports as a whole, and there's a lot of old heads that need to go away, and a lot of them are
right.
in the writing and broadcasting side. And so this is a great path for the youth to like, and then also elevate. So yeah, it hasn't been an easy road for Mike. Hasn't been an easy road for my family. Like I grew up in Brooklyn. My grandma Jean Cope, God bless her, yeah, she
Mhm.
she was hard on me. I wrote a note to apologize her once. She looked at me dead in the eyes and she said, "Next time I want it in blood." So we all grew up in that odds against us, and
Yeah.
and you use that to then further people that obviously still have it tough, and you try to relate with human beings. That's all we are. This world's hard enough. Like so, just keep supporting and keep helping each other. That's really it in a nutshell. I want to circle. So you're leaving to go coach USA basketball, right?
Right. So I have had the unbelievable honor, right, of being selected to help out with the AmeriCup. The AmeriCup is like this prelude to the 2024 Olympics, right? Everybody's doing it. All the nations are doing it. It's like almost like a pre-Olympic qualifier,
Mhm.
right? So Team USA, but on the men's side, um, they decided that they were going to use little old me to help out with some support staff stuff, maybe a little player development here and there, right? And you guys got to understand this, right? I'm from public housing, right? The little 6, 7, 8-year-old kid, right? That dreamed, fantasized, went to McDonald's, right, in 1992 and got the big gulp, right, with Jordan and Magic and
Heck
Bird on
yeah.
it that said USA.
Yeah.
I was that kid,
Yeah.
right? I was obsessed, absolutely enamored with all things basketball,
Mhm.
right? So it didn't hit me, man, until you know one of my cousins, he talked to me, but he said, "Hey, man, this is USA." You know what I'm saying? I'm like, "Oh, yeah, because I'm focused on going forward,
Right.
doing the work. He's like, "No, you don't get it. They're going to give you like a red shirt. It's going to be like white and blue, like the dream team, man, like that world."
Yeah.
And then I got a little, oh man, the dream team. Oh, damn, this is crazy. So it's such an honor and a blessing anytime you can represent your country and help out in any way, man. And so I'm just blessed. I'm just blessed. That's all. I'm blessed.
I wanna go back to that time. I feel like it was a lot simpler,
Mhm.
and people still the country wasn't as divided. I blame social media and stuff like that for that as well, don't get me wrong. Like, the media is a huge part of that. But, yeah, it's so cool to see growth, and that's everything I look at. When I look at the WNBA and I smile and, Mike gets as excited, for, uh, WNBA than he does for the NBA or
Mhm.
for the Cubs, and that's hard to do. It's close. I know Mike's like,
No,
"Yeah."
it's not that hard lately. It's not
Yeah,
that
yeah.
hard. The Bulls are horrible. The Bulls are horrible.
But, we got a couple more minutes. I wanna let Mike fire off. He was so excited to talk to you, and, hopefully this will continue, our relationship, and we'll have you back and on all of our afternoon shows. It would be cool.
Of course. But you know, man, we talk about Team USA and we talk about everything that's going on. I'll be there tomorrow. Obviously, Brooklyn, we're in the house. Kalia Copper, Asia Wilson, Kelsey Plum and company will be there, and of course, Sabrina Ionescu. How can I not? How could I not? She's about to make it look effortless. But with that being said, Ka is going to be representing Team USA yet again, and I want to talk about your relationship with her. North Philly versus South Philly. You know, that whole relationship pretty much just skyrocketed you into the WNBA. You had already been working with players, but now getting a job, player developments director and coach for the Chicago Sky for some time. You know, what went into your relationship with Kalia Copper? Now, North versus South in Chicago, man. I try to stay open. You know, I'm rocking with the West, the South, the East,
Mhm.
everywhere. But we know it's a rivalry always. So, what was that relationship like with you? Her atmosphere versus your atmosphere coming together and helping her grow into not only a WNBA Finals MVP but a champion.
Well, I think the first thing is that we were bonded by purpose.
Mhm.
I just feel like these things just like God has a way of aligning people, right? I wasn't like necessarily looking for a Kalia Copper,
Right.
right? I don't know if she was necessarily looking for me, right? But I had been doing my work on my end, and she had been doing her work, and then during her last year, I guess over last winter, she didn't go over to Europe, right? She was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be in Philly, man." And I had already known her through a mutual friend of ours, Keisha Hampton, who also played for the Sky back in the day,
Oh,
right? And she was like, "Hey, man, you got some time to work me out?" And I'm like, "I'm coaching Division II women's basketball, right? I'm working at school. I'm working 15-hour days." I'm like, "I don't know, man. Like for a Finals MVP, I think I might be able to fit you in my schedule. Let me see what's going on, right?"
Love it.
And then we went at it like that. Um, I just think that her competitive spirit, is it's similar to my competitive spirit. She's just more talented than me, right? I would like to be able to do what she does, right? She's just more talented than me. And you know what? We talk about relationships again. With Kalia and my relationship, most of the time, probably 90% of the time, we're not talking about basketball,
right.
right? So I got to know her family, right? She got to know some of my family, right? Um, we argue about who can dress better. Like, clearly it's her. We argue about who makes better French toast. Clearly it's me, right? Everybody knows that, right?
Of course.
Especially her. I love her dog, right? So we just have this, a friendship to me that goes beyond basketball. I wish the very best for her in every scenario of her life. And the great thing about Kalia Copper, as we're talking about, I guess, what international competition. You go to Copper's house, she has a gold medal from the world championship, right?
It's awesome.
But it's sitting on the mantle with like mail, like like pet food,
Right.
right? Like an old hot dog wrapper,
That's
right?
great.
She's the most down to earth superstar. I'm
Oh,
like, yo, what are you doing? She's like, oh, yeah, I know. Then she gives that Kalia smile, and I just laughed at this dog, oh girl. This is why I'm bald, right? This is why I'm bald, right? So that's what she is, and she's a phenomenal player. We all know that, but I'll go on record as saying, she's an even better and a more incredible human being, and that's rare for someone of her ilk and magnitude and talent.
I will say Mikey did get a haircut today because he was worried about two beautiful bald people.
Oh,
But
I
yeah,
did.
yeah, dude, this has been awesome, Coach Chaz. We will have you on anytime you're back in Philly. You just call me. I'll be on the Daily Ticket with Sean Brace. That's coming up next. Mikey, any final thoughts or any final words for either one of you? We have about a minute.
I'm rocking out. I'm all good to go, man.
Any message out there, Coach Chaz, that you would want the Philly market to hear? And
what I want the Philly to market to hear, man, is you know what? Let's come together a little more. Mike talked about South Philly, North Philly, that whole thing, right? Let's start to do away with the geographical stuff, right? And let's start to function more in purpose. I mean, we can get further together, right, than we can do individually. So that's what I like to see more out of Philly. And please, Joel Embiid, get healthy soon. Please. I need it. All right. I need it bad. I need it.
let's go. Bring home a medal. Next time we have you here, I want to see a medal.
That'd be crazy.
That'd be nuts. Thank you for all you do. You're an ambassador to humans. Like that's pretty much it, right? And it's been such a joy. Like I said, walking through that hallway, I'm glad we had some technical difficulties because we got to spend some time. So I do appreciate that. And Mikey, thanks for the connect, and we'll be back. All right.